ready?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm ready.
how's it taste? Seasoned enough?
I'll bring my phone up here to keep me on time.
Need some more seasoning or good?
The good news is they didn't put me between you and the food, so I'm safe. I can do this. All right. Controlling the confrontation. Typically when we give these presentations, it's to the employees of companies, it's to the lower level managers and whatnot. But we're all in this room, we're all, for the most part, I can imagine, people that are involved with keeping people safe, right? So I can kind of skew this a little bit to the higher level. So, this is me, obviously. Former Marine, expert in security operations, tactical training, and physical security. I oversee all the operations here in Central Arkansas, basically. So today we're going to cover 10 practical steps to safe terminations and identifying unsafe employees, basically, mentally unwell employees and people that are at risk. So first off, we're going to start with who you are, right? We're all responsible for keeping people safe. We're responsible for the most important aspect of every company, the people. Fact is, a lot of the time we don't get credit for that. We're getting pointed at because we're making life difficult. We create an inconvenience for somebody because the job was easier doing it the other way. Well, okay, I'm fine with that, right? Because they went home safe, they went home with all their fingers and toes, right? At the end of the day, that's all we really care about. Having very limited resources and support. Yeah, a lot of times we don't get what we need, right? We're working with duct tape and baling wire. We're not working with state-of-the-art stuff. Sometimes we have to scrape together the money to be able to put in a safety net, right? And coming from the security world, right? A lot of companies don't have it in their budget to hire a security company or to hire a consultant to come in and help make them safe. So sometimes we scrape together, right? And sometimes it's a couple companies coming together to put the funds together to learn all of this stuff. We understand where that happens. A lot of times people only think of HR, OSHA, and everything else whenever things go wrong. Security, people only think about security when things go wrong. Somebody's gotten hurt, somebody's gotten abused, somebody's gotten their car broken into, right? That's the only time somebody really thinks about what security protocols do we have in place. What kind of security cameras are there? What kind of things are to help catch this person? And just a caveat here, guys, cameras only watch what people do, right? They don't actually prevent it. In today's age, your job is a lot harder than it's probably ever been, right? For us, especially in the South here, right, everybody's like, oh, we don't need security, we got this. The fact is, when you guys are doing your job, who's watching you, right? Who sits at a desk in this room? Who sits at a desk and works all day? All right, who's out there in the field working on machines? Yeah, so whenever you're focused on your job, this is my area of focus right here. What's going on here? No one's watching my back. That's typically where security comes in, right? So we'll cover a little bit more how that actually plays a role in later slides. Violence is on the rise. Yeah, we've seen it. It's in the news. It's everywhere. We can't get away from it. And this is Bob, guys. We'll talk more about Bob later, but I want you to remember Bob. He's a wonderful, family-loving man. So, at Safe Haven, we protect your people and your brand. We provide workplace violence prevention training, which is some of this right here, behavioral and threat assessment management, and executive and family protection, and then, of course, uniform security professionals. I mean, we've got, if you guys haven't seen us in uniform before, we're right here at the Pulaski County Building, and we're right here at Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts by any time. You guys can come in, talk to them. I welcome you to talk to my officers and ask them any questions. I mean, really, I believe they like their job well enough that they'll talk good about us. These are a few of our clients. Some pretty recognizable ones in there. So we're going to start with understanding violence. There are 3 killer myths to every act of violence. One, it won't happen to us, right? It won't happen right here today. Well, the fact is, somebody's got a grievance against this building right here. Regardless if it's somebody in this room, somebody in this building has a grievance against them. It can't be predicted and it can't be prevented, right? We can't assume that it's going to happen today. Well, with enough knowledge, yeah, we can predict the future. Can't be prevented. The fact is, we have security measures in place here, right? Key cards and stuff like that, but we have also a lot of glass walls that can be breached pretty easily. And then, of course, I have no control. How do you gain control? So, anybody have a guess how much the rise has been over the last few years on houses of worship, deadly force incidents?
I remember that, old man, because I was working down there, cooking all the good food, and all them crack addicts was all running around.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? They're everywhere down there. And they smell good food, they're coming to check
You
it
see
out.
what I'm talking about? You were the first one. I was kind of watching you, bro. I'm keeping my eyes on you. I ain't gonna lie.
I do look a little sketchy sometimes.
But you said that first word, man, that smells good. I said, oh, Lord.
I almost came over there.
I know it. I'm watching. So that situational awareness, man.
Right,
See that?
situational awareness.
So, deadly force incidents in a house of worship is up 900%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gotten bad. It's gotten real bad. And I mean, it's not just, it's churches, it's synagogues, it's, all places of worship, right? It's gone way up. 81% of school shooters, they've actually told somebody beforehand, right? They told somebody in some way. They wrote a manifesto, they wrote it online, they put it out there for somebody to read, right? And the fact is, when somebody puts that out there, they're wanting two things. One of two things. They want to be talked up or they want to be talked out, right? They want to be talked into doing this or they want to be talked out of doing it. So, how do we get here? Anybody have any guesses? We put video games up, Airman. But the fact is,
Excuse me, John.
Yeah.
Just a second. She said it's not changing the slides on the.
uh-oh. Technical difficulties, stand by. Was that a 404 error?
No,
Grab my coffee while we're waiting then.
it's a giga. Garbage in, garbage out. Right?
You don't know one. Please take it home. Please take some home with y'all.
I tell you, I'm jealous. I didn't want to eat beforehand in case I got heartburn and that would suck. I'm gonna get some of this food afterwards. That doesn't smell good.
While they're working on that, I've got a question for you.
Yeah. Stop me at any time to ask a question.
A few years ago, we had a guy from Homeland Security come to our conference in Batesville and talk a little bit about workplace violence.
Mhm.
One of the things that he said at the time, at least, there had never been a mass shooter that had been through a gun safety or hunter's education course. You know, if that's still.
I can't speak to that specifically, but yeah, I mean, the trend is, no, they're not really familiar with guns. They'll buy something that just looks cool, looks dangerous, or it's cheap and they can get their hands on it. The fact is, most gun owners are responsible gun owners and they have some kind of emotional intelligence to be able to talk themselves off the edge before they actually go and shoot.
When you look at Fort Ice, Arkansas, a couple of months ago, the guy drove up in the parking lot, the supermarket with a shotgun.
Yep.
And just started opening fire on people.
Yeah. Just random.
Random.
Yep. Looking for attention is really what that boils down to. Just let me know when we're back up and I'll continue. Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, at any point in time, stop me if you've got a question. I love answering questions. It keeps everybody engaged. So, how do we get here? The fact is, we're surrounded by violence all the time, right? Media, games. You open your phone and it's got some kind of news or some kind of article of, somebody was shot, somebody was hurt, somebody was, everybody's desensitized to it. You walk down the street and somebody twists their ankle. Are you laughing or are you are you going over to help him? You know, maybe you'll do both. The
That's
fact
not
is,
funny.
you know, we're desensitized to it.
Well, that's, and you're right about that, because talking about that last situation, most of the people over there didn't even try to stop the guy.
No.
They want your cell phone, taking video.
Exactly.
Why he was a
They
kid.
want the likes. They want the videos.
It's sad, I mean, it really is.
Uh-oh. I can't click. I'm still on. There we go. Oh, too far. All right, so 43% of deaths in females in the workplace is related to domestic violence. That's almost half, right? It can be a office worker tripping and falling down the stairs, truck driver getting into a car accident, whatever the case is. Almost half of those is from a domestic partner coming to work and hurting them.
Wow.
Does everybody here work a pretty regular schedule? Work at a building? You park your car in about the same place every day? You work like, people that know you know where you're going to be in the morning and in the evening. You're gonna be standing next to your car. I mean, that right there is why. You're having a dispute with a domestic partner, and you cut off all contact, and that person can't get a hold of you. That person is now agitated, now angry, and you haven't sought help. They know where to find you. They know where to get a hold of you. And the fact is, whenever they come there, they're going to be agitated. They're going to be elevated because they haven't been able to get a hold of you this whole time. What we have to do is create a culture of care, as it says at the bottom there. We have to start identifying things within this. We have to start asking the question, the hard question, because we do end up with employees that end up looking like this. Sydney Curtin, she gave us full permission to give this picture out. But the fact is, she came to work regularly with small bumps and bruises, twisted arm, this and that, and that was all happening because of her domestic partner. One day she came into work looking like this, and nobody asked the question, are you okay? Are you safe? Is it okay for you to go home? No one asked that question. She came to work like this. And this is about a week afterwards, so it was worse than this, right? She was constantly going to the bathroom, crying. She was trying to seclude herself from her coworkers. She was just trying to live a normal life. But when she got home, it wasn't normal. So, ask the question, are you okay? If I say, how are you doing today? Good. Everybody says good. No, how are you doing today? Like really, how are you doing today? Are you stressed? Are you okay? Or is it, like what's bothering you, man?
Do you need help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Simply, do you need help?
Yeah, because if you don't, everybody answers, oh, I'm good. Yeah. Look for something else. Look for great, look for fantastic, look for, something, because everybody answers good. That's the natural response. And if somebody just says good, no, really, how are you doing today? Like, I'm curious. I want to know. I want to know you. What's that take, 5 minutes to actually get an answer out of somebody? So start recognizing the warning signs. Somebody that's secluding themselves. Somebody that's timid. Somebody that's apologizing all the time. Look to be able to de-escalate the situation in their life. Look for options for them to go to. Get these preventative actions out there so we can avoid this outcome and manage that threat over time. If this is something that's going to follow her everywhere she's going, start getting a consultant involved. I'm not saying Safe Haven's the end all be all, right? We do a lot of consulting and stuff, and we did help manage this case. But the fact is, I just want this person to go home safe, right? If it's not us, that's okay. I don't care. I just want people to go home safe at the end of the day. Remember, all violence begins with a grievance. Now, ever since the dawn of time, right? Cavemen were attacking each other because somebody was trying to encroach on somebody else's cave. I mean, it's a grievance, right? Somebody's upset about something. And even today, kids are getting into a fight over video games because it's their turn to play. They're upset that they didn't get their turn. It doesn't matter where you look at in the world, a grievance is a grievance, right? Somebody's upset about something, and that's from world wars to kids fighting on the street. It's all the same thing. How do we get out of this situation? How do we stay away from the worst of the worst? Anyone? A little pre-planning maybe? First off, we're gonna trust our instincts. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. If you're going to a gas station in the middle of the night, it's a gas station you go to all the time, and it just doesn't feel right, go to the next gas station. Because your instincts, your gut instinct is a subconscious idea that your conscious mind hasn't picked up, right? If your conscious mind isn't aware of it, you just feel bad about it, but you don't know why. Trust it. That means your subconscious mind probably seen somebody carrying a gun that didn't look safe, but your conscious mind didn't catch it, because your conscious mind only catches what, like 70% of what your mind what actually happens around it. A lot of time we get into a gas station, we jump out real quick, start pumping the gas, we're freezing in the morning, we're in the middle of the night, we're like, oh, get back in the car. But we didn't catch that the person in the pump next to us just pulled their gun out. You know, because we just didn't see it. We didn't look at it. We didn't pay any attention. We didn't hear it. We were focused on something else. Watch for the warning signs. There are a lot of obvious warning signs out there, and there are some that are not so obvious. So you end up on a rock like that. It was a pretty obvious sign. You just weren't paying attention, right? You turn your head the other way. You said, you know what? It's safe. It's safe. We're out in the middle of the ocean. I can go over here and make myself a martini, come back to the wheel, and then all of a sudden you're up on top of the rock because you weren't paying attention. So, real life termination. We had worked this case here. An employee was written up for disrespecting a fellow employee, right? And he didn't like it. He didn't like being called out for that. Well, later that day he posted on social media and that he was going target practicing with a gun, made negative comments, and he had made negative comments about the discipline in that same posting. Another employee saw the post and told management, and of course, he didn't like it. So the next day, the police stopped the employee on the way to work with loaded weapons.
Oof.
We actually worked that case.
Could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
A person that just been terminated, reprimanded, whatever, should you assign someone to monitor his page or whatever else?
If they do appear to be a threat, yeah, I would. Personally, and a lot of times what it is, we're just going online and checking social media, see what they're doing. You know, we might put a PI on him just to see where he's going, what he's doing that next day. You know, we might watch him for 3 to 5 days. And if he's just hanging out at home and he's not doing anything, then all right, great. But if he's going to the gun range, he's out at the gun store, he's out, you know, getting sloshed every night, then we've got a problem, right? There's a big difference between that. But if the next day we put a PI on him and the guy's out looking for a job, no, there's nothing to worry about. 98% of the time. I mean, we're playing odds every time we do something. But does that answer your question? Perfect. So, termination number 2. An employee was seen carrying a gun in a concealed shoulder holster while guarding. You know, just a standard. So, situation was escalated through security. You know, it was sent up the chain of command. Employee was terminated. And 2 days later, 2 different employees were arrested on site for drug-related charges. Turns out, they were all in the same thing. That one guy was the hired muscle. They were distributing to the company employees and to the community. They were distributing drugs. Anybody ever found themselves in this situation? You knew there was danger on the horizon, but you looked the other way. You decided to be willfully ignorant. So, when we're looking for warning signs in somebody, we're looking for someone that blames other people. They're not adaptable. Low self-esteem, a loner, depressed, history of mental health issues. They have multiple major life stressors, diminishing inhibitors, irrational beliefs and ideas, sudden change in belief system, and that's a huge one, right? Somebody that changes their core values. Little empathy for others, severe mood swings, and recent purchase of a firearm. No. How many people just put somebody's name in their head? Exactly. The fact is, I have 3 or 4 of these right here. It doesn't matter. I'm in pretty good spirits, at least I'm gonna tell you all that. But we look at 48 different factors. These are just a few of those, but we look at 48 factors. Having 1, 2, 3 of these isn't a big deal, right? Everybody goes through some part of their life where they're experiencing something like this. But whenever we start to add 5, 6, 7, 8, and this person's on a downhill roll, their work performance is going way down, they're not hanging out with the same people at work, they're not eating lunch with other people that they used to, then this right here starts to become a little bit more, okay, we need to ask a question. And you just take it to HR and say, hey, this is what we've seen, we're a little bit concerned. If nothing comes of it, then no big deal, right? Guy gets to keep working, he's just having a bad day. But whenever you're looking at this over time, a week later, he's still the same way, things are getting a little bit worse, you're looking at firing him because he's not performing as well. Well, how do we know that's not the last step to an incident, right? Start asking the questions, start doing the investigation. Now, recent purchase of a firearm, obviously we live in the South, I buy guns all the time. That's not a huge deal if it's somebody that normally buys guns all the time. If it's somebody's aggravated and they're having financial issues and then they buy a gun, well, obviously they couldn't afford to buy a gun. Why are they buying a gun, right? I have a bunch of guns at home, but if I'm going to do something, I'm probably going to buy a gun that doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm probably going to buy a cheap gun, right? I'm a SIG guy. I love SIGs. But if I go buy a high point, start asking questions.
Yeah. A little bit cheaper for sure than that 6 hour. Sure.
So, some bonus flags. A lot of them in there. I thought so. Prolonged anger, hypersensitivity to criticism, increased risk taking, just things that are way outside the norm. Start asking questions, right? And it's okay, just ask questions. How you doing today?
Yeah, it is political season though, so I see a lot of this.
Oh, well, and that's true. We're on a rise right now. We're on a trend in this time of the year. I won't say which client it is, but one of our clients has had a uptick in activity here recently, and it's just weird stuff, because everybody's stressed out on something, some reason or another. We're having the cost of living going up. We're having the elections coming up. We're having cold weather coming in. Everybody's emotions are all mixed up right now, and some people are just making some dumb decisions. But investigation consideration. Oh.
Holiday seasons.
Yeah.
Stressful.
Holiday season, especially if you're not with your family. If you are alone during the holidays, man, that is a horrible time for depression. And winter months alone, being cold, you're not spending as much time out in the sun, you're got more nighttime, your depression, it's seasonal depression. I mean, be aware of that. Investigation considerations. When you're looking to terminate somebody, are they a candidate for administrative leave versus terminating them right away? Do an investigation, give them some time to go home and reflect on what they've done. And I'll tell you, that works. What is a couple days worth of pay versus somebody leaving on bad terms and potentially bringing that anger back. You can send them home and they can self-reflect. They're being paid. They can self-reflect on, oh crap, I've really screwed up and I understand why. Instead of being hot in the moment where they're upset and they're now having to leave the company out the front door, fired, without a job. You can terminate them while they're at home. Their work performance. When did it start to decline? At what point did it start to decline, and at what point should you have stepped in? Because if somebody's a really, really good employee and they had a girlfriend, and then all of a sudden their work performance is way down here, there's your problem right there. Workplace relationships, are they up or are they down, you know? Do they have people that they rely on? Or are they, those people right there willing to stand up in their place and point the finger and be angry too? Interviews. Interview their coworkers, see what they are doing, right? And policies. Did they violate any policies? Can you bring that to the table whenever it comes to termination? What is this guy doing?
Breathing exercise.
Hey, I like breathing exercises, yes. But what does it look like he's doing? It looks like he might be sleeping. Yeah, maybe. Prayers, yeah, I can see prayers. Prep for the interview. See what's happening in your mind. Relax, calm yourself, breathe, yes. Get your story straight. Know why you're in there. Know what you want to talk about. Get your bullet points and stay on those bullet points. Visualize the outcomes and the contingencies. If this goes south, how do I get out of here safe? If this goes really well, how do we get him out of here without losing that? If he starts swinging, do I swing back? You know, start figuring out what those contingencies are.
We are in the South,
Yeah.
just saying.
Somebody gonna get caught in a headlock.
Deborah, turn the other cheek.
With your
You
face.
got it?
Oh,
Sarah, what you said. Sarah, you see what I mean?
Yes, ma'am, I see.
Welcome to the team.
Manage your stress. When you're in that moment, you got to manage your stress. If you're upset, you're not going to say the right things. You're going to upset that person even more. Remember, it's not about you. It's not personal. Whatever they're upset about, they're just upset about, and they're taking it out on you. Do your breathing exercises. And I'm so glad you said that. We do 4 square breathing, what we teach our officers. And honestly, all it is, right? I inhale deep, I hold it for a second, and I exhale. Now, can I sit there in the middle of an interview and be like, okay, I'm gonna answer you. No, I'm gonna be like, okay, now I can answer you. Now I've brought my heart rate down a little bit. I'm not upset anymore. I'm thinking a little bit clearer. Anybody play Jenga before?
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. I love that game. Imagine the bottom of the Jenga blocks being your home, your food, career, and your income. Now, home isn't just the house. It's the people that live in your house, right? That's what really makes a home. If those are all at the bottom there, then they're the ones that are the most stable point, right? They're your stabilities. When you start losing them, you become a lot less stable. Further up the chain, we've got extended family, close friends, reputation, self-image, alternatives. You know, just the further up you go, the less it really means to you. Now, what happens if I take home away from the bottom of that? All right, who would be okay? Who would be okay by show of hands if your family leaves you? All right, you lose your income. You can't support your family anymore. All right, everybody's got a tumbling point. Everybody's going to tumble at some point. Somebody can lose their home and be okay. You know, and their work might suffer for it. And they'll lose their income. Then they lose the ability to put food on the table. Well, without extended family lead on to provide that support, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You're going to do something stupid, right? You're going to tumble. Remember to have the right people in the room for your terminations, because the people that you're talking about are on that edge, right? They're losing their career. You lose your career, you're talking about income, talking about food, talking about home. So, have the boss's boss in the room. If I'm firing you, you probably don't want to talk to me, right? But you might want to talk to my boss, because you're not being fired for the right reasons. Who can change that? My boss, right? Have human resources in the room, HR. Now, HR is typically called on for bad reasons, right? No one really associates HR with the good stuff, but that's okay. They still need to be in the room to save your six. When do you get security in the room? Do you want them detectable? Do you want them in uniform? Do they need to be inside the outside the building? These are all considerations to have. Because if it is a difficult termination, you need to start talking to security immediately. You know, some level of security, some way to keep you safe, right? And it could just be a consultation, like, hey, I've got this guy, I don't really know how to handle it. Hey, that's okay, we handle that stuff all the time. Choose the right timing. Remember, if it's a dangerous situation, sooner is better, because it's going to get volatile very quickly. Revoke access during that final interview, right? If you've got key card access, do you want them to be able to go back to their desk whenever you're done firing them? No, you want all their stuff in that room already. You want to be able to say, here you go ahead and leave. Consider the end of the day on his Friday, right? So if I have Thursdays and Friday off, well, my Friday is Wednesday, right? Make sure it's on the end of their day. Choose the right location. Would it be smart to terminate somebody in this room? Anyone?
Too far up in the sky.
It's too far away from the exit. They have to leave everybody in this building to get out of here, because it is out here, around there, up there, out there. You know, it is terribly difficult. You want to have a conference room right at the entrance, right at the exit, so that they can just go to their vehicle. There we go. Yeah, near the exit. Belongings packed and ready to go. Yeah, have their stuff in that room. You know, have it right outside the room. Have it available for them. They don't have to go back to their desk to get stuff. Right? If they say they're missing something, they'd be like, okay, we'll get it to you, we'll mail it to you. All right? Now, when we're setting up a room, you don't put the subject in the corner, because all they're gonna do is feel trapped, right? Anybody trapped an animal before? They fight, they scream, they're doing everything they can to leave. Now, next to them, you want the boss's boss, right? Whoever's terminating them, their boss. And then you want HR across the table, because HR is still not looked upon in a good light. And you want that person that could be a friend to them and ally to them to hear their side of the story next to them. Encourage people to speak whenever they're threatening. You want to know what they're upset about. You want to know why they're threatening people. Don't interrupt unless it's escalating. If they're just yelling and yelling and yelling, you're not getting anywhere, right? Say, if you want to have this conversation, I want to talk. I don't want to yell. Let's talk. I want to hear you. Let him finish. Let this person finish their argument. Don't argue with them, because you cannot argue with somebody that is not in the right state of mind. Show concern, show empathy for them, right? If you're upset about something, I need to feel that upset. I need to feel it to be able to actually talk you down from it. Remember, the goal at the end of the day is to get this person out without causing a scene, without escalating. Don't take it personally. Like I said, it's not about you, they're just upset. Control the heart rate with tactical breathing, that 4-square breathing, right? Control your heart rate, keep yourself calm. Respond properly to threats. 1, do not ignore the threat. If somebody makes a threat, it's a threat, right? And especially if they are not in the right state of mind, right? If some crack addict's telling you that they're gonna stab you with a spoon, they're gonna stab you with a spoon, guaranteed. They will do it, because that's in their mind. Don't show fear. Don't be afraid of them, but don't be overpowering them either, right? I'm not trying to escalate that situation, but I don't want to be afraid of that situation. Don't get angry with them. It's not going to solve anything. And don't downplay and redirect. Don't make it seem like what they're going through isn't a big deal, and don't redirect their anger somewhere else. It's just not going to help, because they're focused on one specific thing. Get them off the property without running them by everybody. Like I said before, put them near the exit, right? Would it make sense for me to terminate somebody here and then walk them, parade them, is the way it's gonna feel. Parade them past all their employees. It's going to feel like crap. It's better that you do it at the end of the day, you do it whenever nobody else is around, you do it near the exit, right? And when you're leaving, whenever they're leaving, it should be on good terms, because you've talked it out. Now, it should. Obviously, it doesn't always turn out that way. Yeah, as you were asking before, we do monitor sometimes if it's not going well and you're concerned. We'll stick around, we'll We watch for those warning signs, any signs of escalation, and social media, you know, we'll check, are they getting speeding tickets now, or are they getting a DUI, or are they doing this and that, because that's an escalation in their life. Do the right thing now, meaning that when you run into these situations, start asking questions, start getting the right people involved, and it's never too early. It's never too early to ask the question, are you okay? It's never too early to ask the question, do we need to get security involved? Because at some point, if it escalates, it's too late. You're already behind the curve and you're trying to catch up. Offer a softer landing and transition coaching. There was one of our clients who had to lay off a bunch of employees, hundreds of employees. And what we had done for them is we'd gone in and we actually sat down via Zoom or whatever it was, and went through their resumes with them, helped them get to that next step, helped them move on, went through their resumes, helped them build them, and helped them get back on track. They had to lay off a bunch of employees, just it was unavoidable business. You know, sometimes they crumble. We offered that soft landing for them. We worked with the client to make that happen. If you can provide that kind of thing to your employees that you're terminating, give them a next step, give them the ability to land on their feet, it's going to go a lot further. If you make that a regular thing for all your terminations, then they get at least have something to look forward to whenever you're terminating, whether on good terms or bad terms. All right, so let's see. Yeah, document observations immediately. Advise appropriate persons, especially if it's a threat, obviously. Continued investigations and monitoring as appropriate. Like I said, if they show a concern, then yeah, we get involved and we start investigating. Enhance site security as appropriate, right? Just because you're terminating somebody doesn't necessarily mean you need to put somebody in front of the door, watching that door all day long. Doesn't mean you need an armed person there. It just, you pay attention to what these people are doing and you make the appropriate steps from there. So, you guys remember Bob? That family man? Bob has become increasingly bitter and angry, lashing out verbally at coworkers and Gerald. Bob has talked about how he believes that Gerald has it in for him and has begun to keep records on his coworkers' productivity and performance, apparently to show that he is being unfairly singled out for criticism. Last week, Bob got into an angry confrontation with Gerald in which he cursed Gerald out in front of others and refused to do the work that's assigned to him. HR management reviewed the situation. What are your recommendations? What do you think? What do we do with Gerald? Anybody? It's okay to get it wrong. Somebody's got to answer this. I'm not going to step away.
Somebody's got to sit him down. I mean, there's no way that just happens and nothing happens.
Exactly. Sit him down. Ask him, are you okay? What's going on in your life? Right? You can't do anything until you know what somebody's going through.
Exactly.
You gotta sit Gerald down as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah, you gotta
figure
know
out
the other
Gerald's
side
point
of
of
the
view.
story.
Yeah,
Right.
that's part of that interview process. Absolutely. Check to see what the other employees are going through. Because maybe these other employees feel the same way about Gerald, and they're going through the same thing. They're just not verbalizing it yet. You know, maybe Gerald's actually the problem.
I think Bob's a bit over the top there. The investigating his employees, that's all extra, but
Oh yeah.
but sometimes you just have personalities who don't work. It's just life, they just don't work, and you do some position changing and moving around because they don't need to work together.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so you may have a good employee that they just don't, you know, and so you move some people around.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got somebody that's abrasive in how they do things as a leader, and you've got somebody that's very gentle in how they want to be talked to, they don't get along.
Right.
But you make a simple switch and things are fantastic.
Right.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Josh, one of the key words up there is increasingly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So long before any of that took place, somebody knew what Bob's regular mood was.
And they watched it happen.
They watched
And
it.
they
so-
didn't say anything until he
until he just
went off.
Yeah.
Till he acted out.
Yeah.
Yep. No one stepped in and asked that question, are you okay?
We're dealing with that case right now. The exact same case. Exactly.
But I promise this isn't based on that.
I got you.
All I have to admit is, you should have answered that question right in the beginning then.
I was trying to be quiet because I want to know what I was
Oh,
doing.
Oh, willfully ignorant.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you turn your head the other way. You buried your head in the sand.
See, he's Gerald. That's Gerald right there. He's turning his head.
No, unfortunately, the guy got terminated before an investigation and sit down was done. That's what happened. It was just a reaction that put him out the door too quick.
Yeah.
Ooh, insert the government into the chat.
Well, that's because he was like me, he didn't like you.
So, how can we say?
I feel the love of his man, bro. That South Arkansas love, that
I ain't
Louisiana
seen you in a
love.
long time, man.
So, how can we save Bob? An employee appreciation program? Move Bob to a different shift, maybe? Terminate him? Is that really the end goal here?
Medical cannabis.
Can we retrain on corporate workplace violence prevention policies? Is there administrative leave that we can offer him, get him back on the right track? You know, does he need to handle some things in his personal life? What kind of concerns does he have? What kind of concerns do we have? You know, we gotta figure that stuff out.
Well, to your earlier point as well, until the entire situation has been assessed and adequate interviews have taken place,
Mhm.
we don't know that Gerald isn't the problem.
That's right.
Yep.
Talk about it, direct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't know that
can't
Gerald
talk
isn't the
about it.
He
problem.
might
Yeah.
be.
So
Yeah.
it may very well
But
be,
Gerald would think I'm
especially
very one, probably
if
upset.
Gerald is in a leadership position at the end of the day, that may be the very catalyst that
Very
started this
upset.
whole thing.
Probably up
If you
something.
diffuse that,
Mhm.
then Bob's problem may completely resolve.
And productivity may go up tenfold.
Well, you would argue, I mean, you argue reasonably, I think theoretically it should.
Yeah.
There's not even really an if.
It usually is Gerald is the problem.
I had and I'll try to tell the short version, but I had a service manager whose shop was in very poor condition, and he was a big focus for me. I kept going by over and over again, but he wouldn't speak to me, would not talk to me, would just bear down and mean mug me the whole time I was there, right? And I'm very stubborn, so you know I let him know. You know, I see that you're not very open here, but I'm gonna keep coming back, and we're just gonna work through this, and we're gonna be friends. And it's gonna
Yeah.
happen. So I just kept working with him, but what I did not know, he had recently lost his father. He was dealing with serious health issues. He was ready for retirement in a few years, but had been doing it for a long time. He was burnt out. So all these other factors were there. He ended up actually being a really nice guy. So when we ended up moving him to a different position, and he just lit up and lightened up and brightened up, and then he's still there, and he's one of our leads. I mean, he's fantastic.
He just needed a change of
Life
pace.
had beat him down so bad, but for him, it came out in anger.
Mhm.
Every one of us has our own way of expressing ourselves when we're at our worst.
Oh yeah,
And at
I'm
his
a
worst,
terrible
he is
person when I'm
just
stressed.
mean when at his worst. And now we talk all the, every time I'm there, he goes out his way to see me and talk to me. And I'm so thankful now that we didn't just fire him, because looking at his shop, that's the first thing you think is, oh, he's gotta go.
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't the answer.
Yeah, just getting to know somebody. A lot of times,
Yeah, that relationship is where it started.
I recently attended our conference, and we had Aaron Stark, who, if you guys don't know who he is, he was almost an active shooter, but all he needed in his life was just someone to care about him, someone to love him. That's all he needed, and it changed his entire life. So I mean, if you guys have the ability to look him up, he's fantastic. He's a wonderful speaker, and he speaks all over the country. But he's just starting to get into the world of speaking and whatnot. He's been doing it for about a year.
I got a question for you.
Professionally.
What was the line that made him not become that?
He went to a friend's house, and that friend treated him like a person. Just,
Talked him off the ledge.
yep, just talk to him. That's really what it was. Yeah, that culture of care. He regardless of what Aaron did to him, he was always his friend, and he treated him like a person at his last moment.